Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Sakina Ali, and today the topic that I'm discussing is environmental pollution. Following are the contents of our topic: introduction to pollution, types of pollution, air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, and the radioactive pollution. So, we are going to discuss the introduction to pollution. So, pollution is the introduction of harmful materials into the environment. Pollution is the introduction of contaminants into the natural environment that cause adverse changes. So, we can see that pollution is the addition of any substance to the environment at a rate faster than it can be decomposed or recycled. So, if we add a pollutant or a contaminant into the environment or a harmful contaminant into the environment and we add it faster than it can be decomposed or recycled, then it can cause pollution. So, what are the pollutants? A pollutant is a substance or energy introduced into the environment that has undesired effects or adversely affects the usefulness of a resource. So, pollutants are those harmful contaminants that we are adding to the environment. Pollutants can be human created due to their activities, and these activities can lead towards damage to the whole environment. So, what are the types of pollution? As we have discussed before, there are 5 types of pollution that are air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, and the radioactive pollution. This is a diagram showing us the types of pollution. So, first of all, we are going to discuss the air pollution. So, air pollution refers to the release of harmful contaminants, chemicals, toxic gases, particulates, biological molecules into the Earth's atmosphere, and these contaminants then lead towards the air pollution. So, we can see that air pollution is the release of toxic substances in the air that can adversely affect the whole environment. So, what are the types of air pollutants? There are 4 types of air pollutants: the visible air pollutants, the invisible air pollutants, primary air pollutants, and the secondary air pollutants. So, I can see that visible air pollutants are those pollutants, as we can see by their name, that these are visible. And for example, we can take smoke. Smoke is visible air pollutant. Invisible air pollutants are those that cannot be seen but are more dangerous than visible air pollutants and cause more damage. And these pollutants, for example, sulfur dioxide or carbon monoxide, etc., these pollutants are basically released by the factories or industries. What are the primary air pollutants? Primary air pollutants are those that directly affect the environment. That these are also released from the factories. And for example, sulfur dioxide. Secondary air pollutants are those that are caused by the reaction of primary air pollutants. So we can see that secondary air pollutants are caused when the primary air pollutants react and then they result in secondary air pollutants. And smoke is the example of secondary air pollutants. Now we are going to discuss the causes and effects of air pollution. So firstly, what are the causes of air pollution? Burning fossil fuels. As we can see that in our daily life that we use fossil fuels a lot. So when we burn these fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels directly releases toxins in the air that pollutes the environment. Exhaust gases from industries and factories. As we can see that when the chemicals or gases are released from the industry and factories, they are directly released into the environment that can lead to air pollution. Agricultural activities. For example, burning rice husk. If we burn rice husk, it releases a lot of toxins into the environment. The natural disasters, for example, volcano eruption. When the volcanoes erupt, the lava causes air pollution. What are the effects of air pollution? So, air pollution causes respiratory and heart problems to the human. Global warming. Global warming may In global warming, temperature increases and that leads towards the increase in sea levels and that can cause melting of ice, which can ultimately cause loss of habitat. And if there is a loss of habitat, how there's no survival possible. So now what is acid rain? Acid rain also is also caused by air pollution, and it is the release of nitrogen oxide and sulfur oxide during burning fossil fuels. And when it rains, water droplets combined with these air pollutants becomes and the rain becomes acidic and fall in acidic form. So what are the child diseases? Child diseases, we can see that those child diseases that are caused in children, that for example asthma, brain damage, etc. So what is water pollution? Water pollution happens when toxic substances enter water bodies, getting dissolved in them, lying suspended in the water and depositing on the bed. This degrades the quality of water. So we can see that water pollution is caused by the release of toxic substances into the water that can cause bad effects on water and marine life. And ultimately also it causes bad effects on humans or animals as they drink that water. What are the types of water pollutants? So there are basically three types of water pollutants. First is organic. We can see that organic pollutants include microplastics. This is a type of plastic, pharmaceutical drugs, plastics, and oil spills. Inorganic pollutants include arsenic, fluoride, iron, nitrate, and heavy metals. And radioactive pollutants is the waste is any pollution that emits radiations beyond what is naturally released by the environment. So it is the release of more pollutants into the environment. What are the causes and effects of water pollution? Following are the causes of water pollution. Number one is industrial waste. As we can see that when industrial waste is deposited in water, it can cause water pollution. Sewage and wastewater. When sewage and wastewater is released into the water, it can cause water pollution. Mining activities and marine dumping. Marine dumping is basically when the household waste is dumped into the water, it can cause water pollution. And next one is accidental oil leakage. So when there is an accidental release of oil in the water, it can lead to the water pollution. So what are the effects caused by water pollution? Water pollution can cause adverse effects on human health and on environment as well. So on human health, disease spread by unsafe water. Diseases spread by unsafe water. So we can see that if we drink the unsafe or unhealthy water, it can cause a lot of diseases to human. Once the toxin present in water ingested, these toxins can cause a host of health issues on the environment. Chemicals and heavy metals from industrial and municipal wastewater contaminate waterways. These contaminants are toxic to aquatic life, most often reducing an organism's lifespan. So we can see that when these um, toxic materials or toxins are released in water, it can adversely affect the aquatic life and it can result in reducing their lifespan, and this results in the adverse effect on the environment. Now we are going to discuss what is soil pollution. Soil pollution is the removal or use of useful substances from the soil or the addition of harmful substances to it. So we can see that if we use a lot of nutrients, we acquire a lot of nutrients from soil, it becomes barren. So it causes soil pollution. And if we add a lot of harmful substances or contaminants into the soil, it also results in soil pollution. Now we are going to discuss what are the causes and effects of soil pollution. So soil pollution can be caused in two ways. it can be caused naturally, and it can be caused by anthropogenic activities. So in nature, perchlorates can be formed in soil containing chlorine and certain metals during a thunderstorm. So when thunderstorms come, the percolates are formed in soil which contain chlorine in excess, and they are negatively charged molecules. So this can cause soil pollution. Anthropogenic soil pollution is a pollution that can be caused by us, and there is acid rain, demolition of old buildings, spillage of petrol and diesel. So when excess of water and petrol and diesel is released in the soil, it can cause soil pollution. What are the effects of soil pollution? Soil pollution can cause effects on human beings, on plants and animals as well. So on effects on human beings, it can cause headaches, nausea, vomiting, coughing, pain in the chest. And effects on plants and animals, we can see that plants that are grown in polluted soil may accumulate high concentrations of soil pollutants. These pollutants can eventually make their way to the top of the food chain and manifest as disease in human beings. So we can see that if the plants gets polluted the soil, by the soil, polluted soil, it can in return cause harmful effects on human or animals that are consuming these plants. In this picture, we can see that the effect of soil pollution on plants and humans as well. Now, what is noise pollution? Noise pollution takes place when there is either an excessive amount of noise or an unpleasant sound that causes a temporary disruption in the natural balance. Now, what are the causes and effects of noise pollution? Causes: industrialization. As we can see, where there are a lot of industries in any area. There is a lot of noise of the all the working in the those industries and factories. Social events, as we can see, when there are there are many ceremonies in ceremonial events. We can see that there's a lot of noise, or we can see the loudspeakers are there, and it creates a lot of noise. Transportation, as we can see that the mean of transportation can cause a lot of noise pollution, as there are a lot of honks and horns and in the environment that can cause worse effects on our ears. Construction activities also causes noise pollution. What are the effects of noise pollution? So first effect is hearing problem. Of course, if we hear a loud noise, we in return have a hearing problem. Psychological issues, it can damage our brain also, and physical problems. Now, what is radioactive pollution? Radioactive pollution occurs when there is a presence or deposition of radioactive materials in the atmosphere or environment. So we can see that when the radioactive material is deposited in the atmosphere, and it is not deposited in a proper way, it can lead to the radioactive pollution. Causes and effects of radioactive pollution. Causes: nuclear accidents from nuclear energy generation plant. So those plants where the nuclear energy is generated, there happens a lot of nuclear accidents. Next one is the use of nuclear weapons as weapons of mass destruction. As we can see, when there is if there is an atomic war, it can destroy a whole world. So it is very dangerous. Nuclear waste handling and disposal. If nuclear waste is not handled properly, it can lead to radioactive pollution. What are the effects of radioactive pollution? Radioactive pollution can cause diseases like cancer, anemia. Anemia is basically the lack of healthy red blood cells. Soil infertility. Of course, when there is radioactive materials in soil, it can have a very bad impact on the soil. adverse effects on wildlife. So how can it adversely affect on wildlife? When animals like herbivores are grazing contaminated lands, the radioactive waste gets accumulated on the animal tissue in a large amount. So this leads to the um, adverse effects on wildlife. It can damage the wildlife. So that's it. Thank you so much for your attention.